everyone, to a new edition of Hit It Where They Mow, Talking Golf in Texas. I'm your host, Pat Wheeler, and we talk all things golf with a decidedly Texas slant, and that is certainly the case today. In April of this new year, 2023, the Masters will be held the 6th through the 9th. It's always the second Sunday of April when the Georgia tournament concludes. But the following week in Arlington, Texas, the third playing of the Veritex Bank Championship will take place the 13th through the 16th. It is part of the Korn Ferry Tour and will be played at one of the top courses in the DFW Metroplex, the Texas Rangers Golf Club. A redesign of the old Chester Ditto Municipal Course by well-respected Dallas architect John Colligan and his associate Trey Kemp. And our special guest today is the person who is kind of the person behind that tournament. Through his vision and acumen, if you will, he started this tournament in 2020. And Malcolm Holland, welcome to Hit It Where They Mow.
Thank you, Pat. Glad to be here.
You know, it's an interesting history you already have at the Veritex Bank Championship. In 3 years, you have 2 tournaments and 1 winner. That's pretty amazing, and the winner is someone who's very colorful, and I don't think you could have chosen anybody better to win your first 2 tournaments. Tell us a little about the first 2 years, or first 2 events.
Yeah, so as you said, we're supposed to have 3 tournaments by now, but COVID took care of one of those years. But and so because of that, we had a chance to have that elongated Korn Ferry season, if you will, and so we finally got to have it in 21, and it was, our first one. It still had a few restrictions here and there, and we're fortunate that a young man by the name of Tyson Alexander won that event. It was his first Korn Ferry win, and in most years, when you win your first event, you usually accumulate enough points through winning and a few other finishes that you go onto the PGA Tour, but with the COVID year, that kind of compacted 2 seasons into one because it wasn't really a full season the first season. So he did not move on because there wasn't a promotion, if you will, to the PGA Tour, and he came back the next year in 2022. And so for the first time ever, a defending champion of a Korn Ferry event won. That's never happened before for the reasons I just stated. Now, I will say, when I handed him the trophy for the second time, the first thing out of his mouth was, "I do not want to be a 3-time winner of your tournament." And I get that.
Well, he's got a good sense of humor. I was reading the article about him, and he said, his grandfather was Skip Alexander, who was a tour player, won 3 times, played on 2 Ryder Cups in that era of Byron Nelson and Ben Hogan. And his dad, Buddy Alexander, won the U.S. Amateur in 1986 and is the coach at Florida. So Tyson said, "I've always been Buddy's son, but I'm working on him being Tyson's dad."
Right, exactly. We were fortunate. We were able to FaceTime Buddy. Scott Fawcett was there when he won, and we FaceTime Buddy. And for those that don't know Buddy, I mean, he's a fixture in golf, as the whole Alexander family is, but he's kind of gruff and straight to the point. And even Buddy was crying to watch his boy win that tournament. So it was a big deal for the Alexander family.
Well, I was out there last year, and I really enjoyed watching it. I watched Arnold Palmer's grandson play a few holes and some other guys of local interest. And, the golf course, I wouldn't say is extremely difficult, but my goodness, Mr. Alexander shoots 23 under the first year and slipped to 22 under his second year. Pretty amazing the scores they're shooting out there at your tournament.
Yeah, they do. Arlington does a nice job. It's in good condition. The certainly length is an issue. We can't back it up. Culligan really did an incredible job.
Yes.
Moving it from Chester Ditto to the Rangers golf course. I mean, he really did a fine job with that piece of property. It doesn't have the length. And so so all the par 5s you can get to, and 3 or 4, depending on when, of the par fours you can get to.
Right.
So for them to shoot that kind of number, especially with Tyson's length, which he is a long hitter, you can see how they shoot it. But listen, Pat, just about anywhere those guys go, they're going to shoot something between 16 and 25 under. And so you just kind of deal with it. And really, it's more fun to watch when they're making birdies and making bogeys anyway.
Absolutely, it is. And I always fail to do this like I should. As I was telling you earlier, this is more the Johnny Carson show than the radio show I used to do. But full disclosure, you're one of our 4 sponsors of this podcast. Veritex Bank is the golf bank of Texas, or I guess that's right. I hope that's right. There you go. Veritex Community Bank. And I also want to mention that Niagara Conservation is one of our sponsors. And you guys are real involved in golf on many platforms. The PGA Tour via the Korn Ferry Tour. I know you're involved with the Texas Golf Association. I know you're involved with the Texas Golf Hall of Fame. And the PGA out at Frisco. And my other 2 sponsors are 2 really great golf courses. One of them is Dornick Hills in Ardmore, which I call timeless. You go up there and you feel like you're playing Southern Hills Light. And I remember playing the last hole there, Malcolm, and you've probably had this feeling before somewhere. People are going to be enjoying this place for 100 years from now when I'm long gone. This is just iconic. It's just a great place. And then, of course, the Tempest Golf Club is near and dear to my heart. Being an East Texas boy, it's over in Longview, Texas. But because of you guys, we're able to do this podcast, and we do it with, as we said, a Texas slant. And tell us a little bit about your story with Veritex Bank, because you guys have really grown and you've done a lot of your advertising and a lot of your promotion via golf. And it's rather unique, if I might say.
It is, and it's an interesting story. I wish I could tell you that 12 or 12 and a half years ago when we started this business, and I've been in the banking business 41 years, so I don't know how to do anything else. But when we started this business, I wish I would tell you that I crafted this great marketing plan about golf, and this is what we're going to be. It has really no truth to any of that. It all started candidly when Bryson DeChambeau won the U.S. Amateur. And Bryson and I have known each other. He was all the SMU golf kids kind of came through my house through a ministry called College Golf Fellowship. And I got to know them all. And I got to know Bryson. He was away from home as a kid. So anyway, fast forward, he ends up, winning the U.S. Amateur and sponsors. And I helped him hire his agent. And one thing led to another, and I said, well, why don't I just advertise a little with Bryson? And so I put my name on his bag, and then that led to another one. That led to Abe Answer's agent calling, and then all of a sudden, it's just started snowballing. And so this just happened kind of by mistake, if you will. And it wasn't planned. And today, I think, I'm going to mess up on the number, we have 27 professional golfers that carry our name either on their shirt or on their bag on 5 different tours. PGA Tour, Korn Ferry Tour, Canadian Tour, LPGA Tour, and then we've got 3 or 4 guys that are on the mini tours out there. So we just fell into this. An interesting thing that's happened, because not only do we have all these players, you mentioned some of the other things. We sponsor the Byron Nelson Junior Golf Tournament, which is
right
the best junior golf tournament in the state of Texas. Now, I say that very biasedly because myself and Gilbert Freeman, Darryl Crawl dreamed the idea up. And we actually had Byron every year he was alive, he came out. And so we sponsor that. We're a sponsor of the North Texas PGA State Open. We do the Hall of Fame out at the new PGA Frisco event. We're the bank for North Texas PGA, Texas Golf Association, and on and on. And so we've come up with this golf bank in Texas. So 2 things have happened. One is I actually have trademarked Golf Bank of Texas. and
Yes.
it's owned by Veritex. And so you're going to see us play that up a little bit, maybe exploit it here and there at tournaments. And the second thing is, and this is a thing that just happened this week, I have just hired a young man named Matt Sawicki. Matt was a 17-year veteran of the USGA.
Wow.
And he's been involved from running the Senior Open to starting the U.S. Women's Senior Open, and been all involved in the USGA and all many departments. And so he's just come on staff to kind of head up this animal that we've created in golf marketing at Veritex.
Well, I'm always a little bit off, but I love your company. I love what you're doing, and you and I both love golf. We love our SU Mustangs, and we love Jesus Christ too. That's another thing. You mentioned hosting a Bible fellowship there that Bryson DeChambeau came to, but I was calling it the Golfers Bank, not knowing y'all were going to trademark the Golf Bank. And your wonderful associate, Patty Martinez, got me straightened out. And so now the rest of the shows, it will be the Golf Bank of Texas. Is it in Texas or of Texas?
In Texas.
In Texas, okay.
No, I'm sorry. Golf Bank of Texas. You're 100%
okay,
right.
okay. But if you remember on the radio show, it was real early in the morning, and I was driving down to the studio, and I said, I figured out how you got your logo, how you got your name. You're just like me, I'm very Tex. And he said, no, not quite. It is in Texas, but tell the story again of what the meaning of Veritex is.
Yeah, so I'm a guy that loves words that have meanings. And so when we tried to put this company together, that you want banks to be strong and courageous and have integrity. And well, all those names were taken. And so it was really a website issue. I couldn't find anything that somebody had already owned. And so I got an email one night from an attorney that was doing some work for us trying to figure out these names. And he said, have you thought of Veritex? And I sent it back. I said, Veritex? That sounds like a technology company. It sounds like you guys must make textiles. He goes, no, hear me out on this. You've talked about Veritas. And I said, yeah, I love that name, but it's already taken. Well, how about if you shorten Veritas, which in Latin means truth, and Tex, which is Texas. So it's truth in Texas banking. And I was like, done. We're done. It's over. So that's how we came up with it. We love to tell the story. We use the word truth a lot. We try to have high integrity, both for our clients and, how we run our company. And so that's where the name came, and it's taken on pretty well. The second thing I did was I said, I want a logo that doesn't have any words on it. And they said, what do you mean? I said, I want a logo that has no words. And this is very arrogant to say, but they got what I was trying to say. I said, the Dallas Cowboys star?
Yeah.
You don't have to put Dallas Cowboys under that. The Texas Longhorn? You don't put Texas Long. People know exactly who it is. And I know we're never going to be big enough or great enough, but I want people to look at that V with a star and go, oh, yeah, that's Veritex. Oh, yeah. So we're not there yet, but that was certainly the idea at the beginning.
Well, that's happened to me, though. I was playing in some tournament and had the hat on. The guy says, the folks at Veritex? I said, yeah. So, it's definitely getting traction. I love to tell golf stories. And you mentioned I had forgotten that you guys were involved with the Byron Nelson Jr. out at Lakewood. And Gilbert Freeman. Gilbert was on my radio show. Maybe we can get him back on for the podcast at some point because, I call him the quintessential Dallas club pro or golf pro. But it was the year Scotty Scheffler didn't win it. I was out there watching him, and he had played too much golf. He had played 18 on the penultimate day, gone out with his sisters and played either 9 or 18 at Royal Oaks, and the next day he didn't have it. And Randy Smith, his tutor, and had a little talk with him later that he just was tired, and he even hit the wrong ball on like the 17th hole. And I mean, that is a big event, and those are the future stars of the game, as certainly Dallas has shown that with Scotty and Will Zalatoris. And
we've had some
Jordan Spieth, yeah.
great winners. I mean, Jordan won it 3 times in a row. I mean, you know, and it's so he won it twice, and so here he comes, and it's another tournament comes at the same time, and well, it was the AJGA Tournament of Champions, and we said, well, Scott, you know, Jordan's not going to play. He needs to go play in that. Jordan goes, are you kidding me? I come and defend my titles. And he gave up the AJGA Tournament of Champions to come back and defend his 3rd year, which, by the way, he shot the course record in the 2nd round of 62 that year. But, you know, you've had Cody Gribble, PGA Tour winner, obviously Jordan Spieth. Carlos Ortiz has played in. Alvaro Ortiz has played in that event. And as we have now invite 4 to 6 Mexican golfers up every year because of Gilbert's relationship with the Mexican Golf Federation. But we've had some great players come out of that. My son won it one year. Now, he was the only Lakewood member to win it, and I'll never forget that. It was he won it in the playoff with a kid from Midland. So it has become the very best junior golf tournament, and Gilbert still is there. Although he's retired, he's there every year. He's the starter. It's just his passion.
Yeah, he loves it. He loves it. And I didn't. What was the name of the young man that was a member of the club that won it?
Charlie Holland.
Oh, your son. Oh, forgive me.
That's all right.
That brings me to another point. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit with this, if you don't mind. This is my hardball question for you. You're involved with the Texas Golf Association. Wonderful. It's near and dear to my heart. I played in 5 state amateurs, made the cut in 1. A guy named Scott Verplank won it, 1984. I got to hear the great Harvey Pinnock, the night before, give the talk. Never forget that. I'll share that nugget. He said, whoever said never up, never in, should have said never 5 feet past, never in. He believed in lagging that ball up there for the putt. But they just had the state amateur at Willowbrook last year, and your son Charlie won it. You got to present him the trophy down at Whispering Pines. I'm not sure the year. We can talk about that. But they're not getting the fields like the AJGA tournaments. And you got any thoughts on how to? We love them over there at the TGA. I'd love to see the field get better, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's a couple of reasons. One is there's so many things to play for now, and everything has, you know, points and amateur and wagger this and wagger that, and so, you know, these guys are making, you know, concerted efforts to go to the highest point tournament. And there have been several years when we have been opposite the Sunny Hannah.
Yep, that's a big one.
That's a problem because the Sunny Hannah is a big time Northeast tournament. But now what we have actually at the TGA, if you win the Texas Amateur, you are pretty much exempt for any amateur event in the country.
Okay.
But if you have it at off sites, and you put me on the spot, I'm going to answer really clearly. If they're outside of Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston, it's hard to get the fields that we need to get. And so Willowbrook, being in Tyler, great golf course, redone immaculately. It's just harder to get the kids to go down there and play. If you get them in Dallas at a great venue, or you get them in Houston at a great venue, you seem to get better fields. But it's just choices. There's so much stuff to play in. But as you and I know, putting your name on the championship trophy of the Rotan Trophy,
yes,
look, you know who's on there.
Yes.
Crenshaw.
Yes.
Or playing. You just can go down the list. It's unbelievable.
Yes, Bruce Litsky, the late Bruce Litsky.
The late Bruce Litsky, and the current guys of Kelly Craft, and he won it. He won it twice. Paul Haley, he won it at Dallas Country Club in 2006. I think Charlie won in 2007.
Okay.
I think that's right.
And you were president of the TGA, got to present your son the trophy. That's really cool.
So he was coming down the last hole, and Andrew Landry and him were tied. And it was Robbie Orman. Robbie Orman was one back, and it's crazy that we can remember this kind of stuff. But Andrew's right in front, and 18 at Whispering Pines has that little false front, and Andrew hit one up there, got up on the green right on the front, and then rolled back into the water. Oh my gosh, there's an opportunity. Charlie hit it right down the middle. He's playing right behind him. I don't think he was paying attention what Andrew was doing, which is good and bad and what have you. So he was 170 yards out, and the pin was back right, and I'm up there. I am a complete basket case. I mean, in fact, Rob Addington, who's then the executive director, he said, Malcolm, if Charlie wins this, you can't say anything at the award ceremony because we don't want to see you up there babbling. I said, fair enough. So Charlie had 170 up there. He hits his shot. It just clears the front and rolls up to about 15 feet. And at that time, Andrew had made a double, and Robbie had made a bogey, and so he had a couple shot lead so he could 3-putt and win it. After the thing, we were walking back to the clubhouse, and I said, Charlie, what'd you hit there? You're 170. How far are you at? 170. How would you hit? 7-iron. I said, 7-iron? I said, all you had to hit it was hit a 5-iron. Just clear the water, get up on the green, 2-putt, you're good to go. He said, Dad, I know how far my 7-iron goes. I said, all right, fair enough. I'm good.
Well, I was going to say, people don't realize how far he hit his drive to have 170. That is a beast, that hole. I've gotten to play there a couple of times, and that's got to be about 500 yards, and the ball doesn't roll down there.
He didn't have to play from that back tee. That's a new tee since 2007.
Okay.
Still, it was long enough.
Wow, yeah, that's great, the history you have, and you yourself, pretty good amateur player. You tell us a little bit about your own love of golf.
I grew up as a tennis player and started playing golf in college and just took to it, and I loved it. And this is another great Gilbert Freeman story. I was part of the group that hired Gilbert in the early 90s, and I joined Lakewood Country Club in like 87 or something, and I was a good 6-7 handicap, had this big old over the top, big slice. But I loved playing. Short game was okay. And I went to Gilbert after we hired him. We had about a year, and I said, Gilbert, I want to work on my game. I want to become a scratch golfer. What do I need to do? He says, I tell you what, every time you don't have a lunch, you come down there and hit balls. I'll give you a lesson once every 2 weeks, and let's go do this for about 3 months. Wow. And so I did it. We had started a little bank in East Dallas, and I was about 15 minutes from Lakewood. So if I didn't have a lunch, I'd run down there, hit balls, take a shower, and go back to the office. And by gosh, I got to where I could play pretty decent. And, I've won 11 club championships at a couple of different courses. We've won probably my greatest win is the Texas State father-son with Charlie one year. That was fun. But, we've had I played in 7 amateurs and made 5 cuts and a bunch of mid amateurs. And it's been great. And then a year and a half ago, I had to play John Grace in a match play event when Shady Oaks plays Lakewood.
Oh, my.
And I halved John Grace and bogeyed the last hole. I had him 1 down. So I look at that as like one of my greatest victories is to have John Grace, who arguably is one of the best amateurs to have played in this era.
Well, just for our audience, John Grace is a member of Shady Oaks there in Fort Worth. He's won the Texas State Amateur, the Texas Mid Amateur, the Texas Senior Amateur, and the Texas Super Senior. He's won every amateur event you can win. He's the only one that's done that. I was pulling so hard for my friend Bill Halstead. It's been about 8 years ago. A.J. Triggs was still living, and they had the senior out at Willowbrook, and he finished 2nd or 3rd. And, of course, he had a state am and a mid-am, and yeah, and so, but I want to tell you a little John Grace story real quick. Jeff Martin came down early part of last year. He is a Wall Street guy. He's aficionado of Ben Hogan. He doesn't play anymore. He does all this research on Ben Hogan. And John was so gracious to have coffee with us out at Shady Oaks. And during the course of the conversation, he said, you know, people don't realize Ben Hogan was just a nice guy and loved golf just like the rest of us. He says, I'll give you an example. Bill Halstead came in town and played in a member guest with me. And Mr. Hogan came over and we were sitting together, and he came over and sat down and talked to us, and he knew everything about Bill Halstead's career. That made a huge impression on me. That, you know, Hogan followed it just like we follow it. And anyway, so John is definitely a treasure. When was this event you played him? When was it?
So every year Lakewood plays Shady Oaks in a big Ryder Cup, and that was our 20th year, and he'd won the senior club championship at Shady, and I'd won the senior at Lakewood, and so the two senior guys play, and I had him one down going into 18 last year, and so this year I get John Grace again, and here, this is a golf story show, so I'll tell you quick.
Yeah, well, we got time. This is Johnny Carson. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're in the set. We tee off. The weather's horrible. It's 46 degrees. It's cold. John, if he cranks it, hits it about 210, 220, and I can hit it about 10 or 30, 20 yards farther. And so he's through 6 holes. He's killing me. I've made one par. I'm 3 down. I'm on number 7 at Shady Oaks. That uphill little par 3 going to the right. And so John. I mean, he's a dog on a bone, and so he hits this shot up there at about 8 feet, and I think I'm starting to get a little twisted, and I think, dadgummit, I'm getting the kicked out of me. I got to do something here. And I got up there with a 7-iron, and I made a 1.
Oh my!
Because Grace turns to me, and John, he was not happy. He was not happy at all. So so I go 2 down. The next hole, I lip it out for eagle on number 8 from 150 out or whatever it was. And it was a good 8 inches or so. And I was down below walking up, and I said, John, is that good? Yeah, it is, you son of a, you know what? So now I'm 1 down, go to 9, lip it out there, don't make it, but I birdie 10, and we're all square after 10. And we called John the little general for a reason. He was mad as a hornet.
Wow.
I mean, that doesn't happen to John Grace, right? And so we end up going back and forth. Long story. He ends up beating me, but it was a really fun match. And that man at 72, he is as good and competitive as there is.
Well, that day he said, I got to go play. And I said, are you going to shoot your age? He says, well, I hope to. I've done it. I forget. He said, I've done it 70-something times or something.
He's up to 146.
Okay.
The last time I saw him at Shady.
I have never really watched him, but just knowing who he is and watching him, I would describe him as fastidious. Mm-hmm. He must be kind of like Langer. He doesn't beat himself. Kind of manages. Yeah.
And short game. Short game. Gosh, it's good.
Well, if you don't mind, let's talk a little bit about some people in golf. I would love, you mentioned it earlier, and I'm fascinated with him, continue to be fascinated with him, and that's Mr. DeChambeau. You made a great comment about him coming over to your house, being part of the SMU team.
Yep.
I think he was 3rd or 4th in the PIP money, the personal interest money on the tour before the LIV Tour.
Yep.
Just your thoughts about him, and obviously you want to talk about some other people that you sponsor and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so Bryson, he's a really interesting guy. I mean, what you read and what everybody reads about Bryson, I think some of it's true, but some of it is, he's a little bit of an introvert. Mm-hmm. He's definitely a very calculated person, especially when it comes to golf. And he's always trying to find the angle nobody's even ever thought of. And, even the story about how he and Mike Shy built those 1-length clubs in Mike Shy's shed at the range at Fresno, California. They came up with this idea. Now, is it a new idea? No. Bobby Jones won the Masters with same length clubs.
I did not know that.
Yep. And the reason I say that is because Bryson, they're on the wall at Augusta, and first he went over and looked at his old hickory shaft clubs. He goes, they're the same length. So it's not a new concept, but it certainly is for us. I know, I guess, what did that one company came out with them back in the 80s?
Cobra. I think it was with Cobra, yeah.
So anyway, but he thinks that way. You know, he does crazy things like at the Tour Championship when, you know, it was really, really heavy humidity that day, and you know, they had dew everywhere, and he made his caddy spray water on every practice ball he hit that morning.
Wow.
Because he wanted to know how the ball was going to react with a little bit of dampness to it. And some people go, well, that's just nuts. And some people say, well, wait a second. He's creating the environment he's fixing to go play in. That's genius.
Yeah.
So for Bryson, you get everything from this guy's a nut to this guy's a genius. And he kind of fits in all categories. You know, the whole workout thing, hitting it longer. He bulked up. He's back down now. He knew that he figured out quickly that, you know, he's not going to live too long if he was as big as he was for a while. But, you know, he's a hard guy to understand. He's quirky for sure. But he is good for the game of golf. And I think he got people to watch golf. You know, this whole live thing, that's a whole nother story. But I keep very much in contact with him, and you know, he's got a new place out in the mid cities that he's built. That's you know, got his workout room and all his golf stuff, and the kid loves golf. He just loves golf.
Well, you know, I'm prejudiced. I like him a lot. He's a nice-looking guy. He's well-mannered for the most part, and certainly compared to some of the other stars. He's interesting. He seems to be a nice person. What gets me is, you know, if he hits a bad wedge shot, he's an easy target, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If he hits a bad wedge shot, it's always, well, how can you play with a wedge the length of a 6-iron? But if he knocks it stony, nobody says anything. Right. So, I mean, you know, they want their cake and eat it too, but that comes with the territory. And he's one that I'm concerned with. I'm glad he got the money, but I'm concerned. I want to see him playing more often.
I do too.
That's bothering me. Yeah.
I'm wondering, and I don't know this obviously, but I'm wondering if the fire, you know, it burned out just a little bit.
Yeah. He's doing a lot of YouTube stuff, but it's just all kind of funny entertainment stuff, and that can't really satisfy him. I wouldn't think. I don't know.
And that's really with the whole live thing. You know, people did it for different reasons. Obviously, there's a lot of money. I can debate either side of that whole thing.
Right.
I think it's bad for golf. It's bad for the tour. It's bad for live. And I think we as consumers probably get hurt by all of it. But I do wonder for some of those guys if their desire, their fire, their drive gets somewhat diminished when you got a full bank account and knowing you don't have to make birdies to eat. I mean, that's part of the game of golf in the early days on the mini tours. You don't make birdies, you don't eat.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. Now, in the case of Bryson, where I want to move on to some other personalities in Dallas that you know real well, because I think our audience will really enjoy that. But he will be able to play, from what I understand, in all of the majors. He won the 2020 U.S. Open, which would give him a 5-year exemption. So basically, through 25, he's in all the majors, right? That's the way I understand it.
I don't think.
Or through 24, I guess, or 25, one of the two, yeah.
Yeah, 25. I don't think some of the governing bodies have actually said that yet. But the sense is now that Fred Ridley at Augusta, and they play by their own set of rules.
They do, yeah.
But my sense is, and what I'm hearing is that they're going to be allowed to play in all the things that they're qualified for. And, even I think there's 16 Yeah, there's 16 guys on the LIV that are actually going to play Augusta.
Okay. That leads me to another kind of a hardball question. Is Augusta National the most influential body in golf?
With me being a past executive committee chair, not chair, but on the executive committee for the USGA for 4 years, I certainly have strong allegiances there. But my sense is the USGA and the R&A together are really strong.
Right.
But I think that Augusta has the freedom to do some things that maybe those don't, and don't have the responsibilities that those governing bodies have. And so they probably have the most sway amongst the masses.
Yes, exactly.
I think the golf community itself probably recognizes the USGA and the R&A and the PGA Tour.
Mm-hmm.
But I think from the golf mass standpoint, with the marketing of Augusta and the Masters, they probably have the most influence.
Well, the reason I say that is you made a good point. They're not really beholden to anyone, but they love the game, and they always put the game first. And so everybody kind of looks to them. And like you said, I jumped the gun. It doesn't mean the USGA and the R&A are going to honor these exemptions. That's a good point. Now,
I think they are, but
yeah. You brought up another point. This is kind of personal, but I hope it's edifying to people. I hope it's interesting to people. I was 35 years old or whatever, and I was at a USGA qualifier watching it out at Northwood. And the guy was up at the scoreboard, the USGA official, and I said, hey, how do I get to volunteer with the USGA? How can I do that? And he was very, of course, officious. I may not have said that right, but he just said, son, you have to be invited. And I thought, oh, okay. So that's an interesting dynamic. You are an executive committee, so obviously they sought you out, right?
They did. And everybody comes from various lives in golf. Now, I will say I got off the committee. I was there from 13 to 16. It is measurably different to the last 2 or 3 years on who they've been inviting, because I was kind of in a transition period. So back in my day, it was, how were you attached to golf? What did you do in golf to add to the game? How could you be helpful at the USGA, blah, blah, blah. I came up through what we called the State and Regional Golf Association, because I was president of the Texas Golf Association, and I've been on the board now 22 years at the TGA. And so I came in through there because the bylaws of the USGA say you have to have 4 State and Regional Golf Association people on the 15-member committee. That's a requirement. And so I filled one of those requirements. I personally had never done any specific USGA work outside of partnering through my Texas Golf Association stuff. But I think they're coming up with a little bit more of a kinder and gentler nation. The people they're putting there are more not necessarily golf people. So there's some philanthropic people. We want to make sure that we have diversity and inclusion. And by the way, the very first African-American president of the USGA will be installed next month, and he's from Dallas. Fred Perpall, who is a fantastic human being, actually played basketball in college, the CEO of Beck Company, large construction company here, but he will be great. He's a ambassador. And so the point is that the USGA is moving in a new direction. They got a new executive director, Mike Wan, who ran the LPGA, who came over a couple of years ago, and then Mike Davis retired. So,
yeah, he's a sharp guy.
He is a very sharp guy. I'm a big Mike Wan fan. But I was always saying the USGA needs to be more of a kinder and gentler and inviting group, because let's just call it what it is. They weren't. It was like a closed society. And I like all comers. So
well, you just enlightened me to maybe a great guest during our podcast run. I would love to get this gentleman. Would you repeat that again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, his name is Fred Perpall. He's actually from the Bahamas. Grew up in the Bahamas. He's 6'7", and and loves golf, has two daughters, great young man. I mean, he's probably 45, 50.
And here in Dallas.
Yeah.
God, that's fantastic.
That company. I can, if I remember, I'll text you his contact info.
I was out hitting balls out at Waters Creek, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and there was a young African-American gentleman hitting balls next to me, and he was about 6'7", and he coaches at Plano High School basketball.
Okay.
And we had a great conversation, and I said, "You've got a wonderful swing for a tall man," because that's always been my excuse, Malcolm, is that golf's a short person's game, Ian Woosnam and so forth. But I told him the greatest golf swing I ever saw for a tall man was Alonzo Mourning. I played in a media deal down at Boca Raton, and he was there, and I couldn't believe it. And it turns out, I don't know Frank's last name, but over at Sellinger's Power Golf, he made Alonzo's club. They're 4 inches extra long. He said that's as long as you can get them without them being too heavy to swing. And so I wanted to tell you that we've got a great show. We have a great show that kicked off our season, the Cootie Twins. Each show has a title. Yours, of course, is the Golf Bank of Texas. But theirs was a family tradition. What a great story. And, of course, you've already got them with Veritex on their bag. And
I do.
Fine young men.
Yeah, I've obviously anybody in Texas golf knows the name Cootie, right?
Right.
I mean, Charlie Cootie not only was a great player, but just a great human being. I grew up playing, when I was playing in the amateurs and mid-amateurs, I played with Kyle Cootie. And he used to play and all that stuff. And we just got to be friends, the barbecue circuit. You go to Holly Tree to play or go to Lufkin and wherever we were headed to play, Champions Cup. And so I just got to know him over the years. And so about 2 years ago, and I've met Pearson and Parker, but they wouldn't know me. But about a year ago, I saw they're coming out and they're going to PGAU and they're going to get, I call Kyle and go, "Hey, Kyle, I'm sure you don't, guys aren't thinking about this, but I'd love," he goes, "We already got him an agent, talk to Chisholm, love to have you." So anyway, I'm trying to get some of these young kids. I just signed Sam Bennett from A&M.
Did you? Good for you. Yeah.
So here's a really cool story. So this year's Masters, the past champion and the U.S. Amateur champion traditionally play the first 2 rounds.
Oh, there you go.
So I got Scotty Scheffler with Veritex on his bag, and now I'm going to have Sam Bennett with Veritex on his sleeve or chest. So I thought, man, we could really play that up. I got 2 guys in the feature group at Augusta. So this NIL thing has created some chances for us to do some of that for these young men. So we're super excited about it. But the Cootie boys, from what I know and what I do know of them, they're just fine young men.
They are, and they're delightful to talk to. And of course, Granddaddy loved Charlie Cootie, and I asked him how many years he would be going to that Champions Dinner, and he said, as long as he can get up those stairs, he's going. I wouldn't miss it for the world if I was him either. Now, also one of my favorite persons is you have in your entourage of golfers, and I'm having my first senior moment of this broadcast, but Cheyenne Knight on the LPGA Tour, and that's another little segue for me to remind every one of our sponsors. Veritex Bank, our guest CEO, Malcolm Holland of Veritex Bank, is one of our sponsors, as well as Niagara Conservation, which is a plumbing fixture company, and they are very involved with the LPGA. And Cheyenne Knight is just a wonderful ambassador for you.
Incredible. And so the short story how I got to Cheyenne is a guy from Longview who you probably know, Bruce Smith.
Yeah.
Who's a golfer. So Bruce and I were fraternity brothers at SMU. He's a year or 2 behind me. And he emailed me one day. He says, "I know you keep up with all these golfers and blah, blah, blah. Do you know Cheyenne Knight?" I said, "I've heard of her, but I don't." She's out of Shady Oaks, blah, blah, blah. So one thing led to another, and we're talking to Cheyenne Knight. I got some great people. She may be the greatest.
Mm.
She's unbelievable. She's such a sweet person.
Mm-hmm.
And so so this is new and nobody knows that yet, but she's going to be the first one of all my players to carry an all Veritex bag. So I've got an obnoxious orange and white Veritex bag that she's going to be carrying on the LPGA Tour this year. But I couldn't be more pleased with the person that she is.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a dang good player.
She definitely is. Now, her history, they don't do it exactly the same way now, but they had a high school and college qualifier for the Texas Shootout. I've drawn a complete blank. Now it's the Volunteers of America, and they have another sponsor. Forgive me for not having that right on the tip of my tongue. But in high school, she made the cut in the LPGA tournament. And that told me right then, okay. And then she went to Alabama and played well there, and then won the tournament 2 or 3 years ago. And then last year, she was having a so-so tournament. I remember watching her on the 18th hole. She hit it about 10 feet and missed it. And I thought, she's a great putter. But I think she shot 63 the last round and almost won the darn thing. Yeah.
Yeah, she did. I went out and watched her play. And she's the type of player. I walked up, I stand away from the first tee. She goes out onto the rope, comes over, gives me a big hug. Thank you for coming so much. She asked me 3 times during 18 holes if I needed water. I guess I'm getting too dang old. I needed some water. But she loves that golf course. She's got quite a history there.
Right, she does. She does. Now, I tried to do a lot of research for this show, Malcolm, but one thing I didn't do, I meant to look this up. I'm watching the Houston tournament, the Houston Astros tournament, and the young man that finishes second.
Tyson.
What's his name?
Tyson. He's
Yeah.
my Veritex Bank champion.
He's got Veritex all over him, and I'm thinking, I had not heard of him before, and he's got game.
Yeah, so Tyson, that's Tyson.
Oh, that is Tyson. Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay. So he's
Tyson. That was his best finish ever. And it was crazy because who won? Oh, Finau. So Finau kind of ran away with it.
Yeah, he shot nothing, yeah.
But Tyson they showed him as much as Finau, and it was awesome. I talked to him afterwards, and he couldn't have been more pleased. He's actually playing in Hawaii this week. We have 7 guys playing in Hawaii.
Wow.
I just signed Cole Hammer. So he'll be wearing our shirt out there this week. So
okay, before we run out of time here, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. Obviously, Scotty Scheffler.
yeah.
I think he's number 2 now, maybe 3. I think he's number 2. Depending on when this show airs. But my goodness, did he come on? And of course, everyone expected him to. He's been good ever since he was that high. And I love to say this. I love Dallas being, quote, the epicenter of golf. You've got Spieth, you've got Zalatoris, you've got Scheffler, you got Bryson, you got Cheyenne Knight, you got the Cootie, on and on and on. But Scotty, tell me your relationship with him through the years.
So I've known Scotty since he was literally 8 years old, when he used to wear long pants every day. And the reason he wore long pants, said, Scotty, why are you wearing long pants? Because that's what the pros do, and that's what I'm going to be.
Yep.
All right. Well, so I've known him, and I've known his mom and dad, Scott and Diane, for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just good people.
Yes.
Scotty is really, he does not like all this limelight. He is a humble, I just want to go to, Jack's Hamburger and grab a hamburger with his wife. And he's just a really regular guy. What they say about him is true. Now, he loves golf. He loves to compete, but he's still driving the same car he had in college. I hope he bought a new one here over the Christmas holidays, but maybe he didn't.
Probably didn't have to finance it for him.
No, he didn't have to finance it. I am his banker. He's done pretty good. Now, think about this, Pat. A year ago, so that would have been 22 in January.
Yes.
Has Scotty won a tournament yet?
Not yet.
Is that crazy?
I'm telling you, man.
It's
And
crazy.
this might be selfish on my part, but you know, you made one of the great statements on the radio show, Pat. Everybody needs a savior, and we're not trying to be overly religious here or anything, but that's so important to me, so important to you. And
Yep.
I remember Steve Jones won the Bob Hope one year, and he thanked Jesus Christ. And
Yep.
Jay Randolph's the only guy I've ever heard respond to that. He said, "Well, he sure has helped your golf game." And most people don't know what to do with it. But the way he gave his testimony at Augusta, he didn't come up there and showcase it. They asked him, and he just shared from his heart, and that was so incredible.
Oh, it's just he's just genuine. And
Yes.
so he's just who he is, like him or not like him, and everybody loves him. But so he won Augusta on Sunday, and normally it's like, okay, we got a private plane for you, get the green jacket. We're going to see the Good Morning America, and we're going to go see Jimmy Kimmel, and we're going to go see this show and that show. This guy says, no, I got to go back to Fort Worth. I got to go to a college golf fellowship ministry outing that I promised the boys I'd be at on Tuesday.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
Tuesday, he won the Masters on Sunday. On Tuesday, he's sitting around in a T-shirt and gym shorts with 20 smelly college golfers telling his story.
Wow.
That's who he is.
Yeah. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, I'm trying to remember what my other thing was I wanted to ask you. This is kind of like as I say, the Johnny Carson show. But, we've got a few more minutes. Tell me about the Frisco. Everybody wants to know about Frisco. And we're going to do a show with Mark Harrison and Paul Ernest.
Good.
But just tell me your take on it. Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, listen, I think Bob Rowling and his family have done an incredible job just orchestrating that whole thing. Frisco has done an unbelievable job at welcoming them in, bringing the PGA. It's going to become the golf hub, or certainly they want it to become the golf hub of America. They're going to have major championships. They got great hospitality venues. The North Texas PGA has their headquarters there right next to the National PGA. So we're going to build a bank and a entertainment venue right across the street because
Wow.
we're the Golf Bank of Texas.
Yes.
We got all these golfers.
Yes.
We want to be a part of it. It's a really cool thing. And so part of that was the Texas Golf Hall of Fame, which has been an organization, been around a long time. It's been down in San Antonio in Brackenridge Park for some time. And they decided to make it a little bit bigger deal, hire Katie Manor, and she's come on board. I think she's probably been there 18 months, maybe 2 years. Raising some money, and they're moving it up there, which is, listen, San Antonio has been great, but they need to be there. And so there's a place where you can go see everybody that's in the Texas Golf Hall of Fame. You can put on a QR code and see all the victories, all the accomplishments. It's going to be a really cool deal right outside of the North Texas PGA, next to what they now are calling the Ronnie, which is a little synthetic golf course named after Ronnie Glanton, who's probably given more hours in the last couple of decades to the North Texas PGA than any golf pro in this area. So it's just a cool spot. I've not played the golf courses. I've walked them. I've seen them. I've been there. Candidly, I think the Hance course is really cool, but that Bo Welling course is really good. I mean, it's not at first and second, I don't think. I think Bo did an incredible job.
Well, you look at Dallas and North Texas, you think it's just this prairie, and basically it is, but there's a fault line that runs through North Texas. It goes down around Dallas National and Golf Club of Dallas. And I remember Gentle Creek, the first time I played it, I thought, holy cow, they've got some dramatic holes here. And I think it's that same, what am I trying to say, topography that they've got there at Frisco. But And I'm thinking it's going to open up around April or May, about when they have the senior PGA out there. Yeah.
I think that's right. They're actually going to have a championship this year. I guess it's the, think it's the Club Pro Senior Championship later in the early in the fall, I believe. So they're going to have a championship there.
Well, I want to remind everyone, we've had a great time talking today. The Gulf Bank of Texas, Veritex Community Bank, it's a small business bank. How would you describe what you guys do?
We focus on definitely on the commercial side of the business, so small business, medium-sized business, and then commercial real estate. Also have a private banking area, but we want to service the businesses of the state of Texas.
There you go. And you also have a mortgage component. That's kind of my background in mortgage guarantee. So we have Veritex Community Bank helping us do these podcasts. I'm loving it. I hope everyone else loves it. Also, I mentioned Niagara Conservation and the Tempest Golf Club outside of Longview and Dornick Hills. And we've already got a Dornick Hills show. We're excited about that. Fred Leonard is the green superintendent and general manager. So we've got a show with him. Malcolm, did I forget to ask you anything before we sign off?
No, you didn't. And I just want to thank you for, the hard work you do to, we love this game of golf. And I know there's some people out there that like listening to you. And so thanks for the effort you put forth to just talk about our game, because the stories in golf are what really makes it a unique game. And I've just been blessed to be able to play it for a few years, and hopefully I got a few more. I just had my fourth grandson, and
how about that?
I'm hoping I get to play with him one day. It's a great game.
Amen. And I'm hoping I get to see the Ryder Cup out at Frisco. What's about 2042 or something? I want to send you my new book too, The Fringe Runner. It's a shameless promotion here. And you can get my book. It's about the unsung heroes of golf. A long chapter on Don January, Buster Cupid, people like that in the game of golf and places I've been to. It's a whimsical autobiography. I'll send you one, Malcolm. And want to thank everybody for listening. And we're going to be back with more shows as the year rolls on. And thank you once again, Malcolm Holland, Veritex Community Bank.
Thank you, Pat. Appreciate you guys.
You bet.
They say that golf's the greatest game. I'm here to tell you so. Harvey Penick said to take that aim and just hit it where they mow. Yeah, hit it where they mow.